Plus, businesses worried about the largest tax hike in history. We've got some solutions for you. Our expert helps some 500 companies save money, so he's coming up. And the nation's now businesses. Time to get in shape. Largest tax hike in history may very well be coming, and our business consultant's going to tell you how to stay ahead of the curve after we take a quick break here. Plus, new regulations. Speaking of taxes, 30 days and counting now until what would be the largest tax hike in our history. Our next guest, says there are 5 steps which companies, forget about individuals for a second, 5 steps companies can take in order to stay ahead of the looming tax hike. It's Gene Marks, the Marks Group CEO. He's the author of Streetwise Small Business Books of Lists, and he joins us now with a little bit more on this. So people, number one, should be following, Gene, the debate out of Washington to figure out if their income is shifting. That's the number one step. What does that mean?
That's correct. And Connell, keep in mind, whether our tax rate is 1% or not, we'd still be complaining right, as business owners.
No, that's true. You never, any taxes is money coming out of your pocket.
But here's what I mean, right? We want to watch what's going on in government right now, okay? If the tax rates are going to be going up because these tax rates are going to expire, that means we want to shift as much income as we can into this year. So we either want to make sure that we're paying more taxes now.
Would you make that bet, by the way, right now, or is it tough to tell?
Yeah, I would. Actually, I think they're going to compromise somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And I think what you just said, as far as breaking news is, if you're making less than $250,000, you're probably going to be getting a break. I think if you're making more than $250,000, you should be talking to your accountant. Bring the income into this year. That way, at least you can pay a little bit less taxes before the rates go up.
Even if you get a temporary extension. Now, the Section 179 that you think people should take advantage of, that does what?
Yeah, it's a great deduction. Not a lot of people know about it, and it was increased this year with the Small Business Reform Act, okay? You can deduct any capital purchases up to $500,000. So if you're running a small business and you want to buy software or hardware or equipment or anything, you can write off up to $500,000 as an expense. Normally, you kind of capitalize and have to depreciate over years. And one thing to keep in mind, Connell, if you're selling capital equipment like software and hardware, it's kind of what my company does, you can promote that to your clients as well and say, hey, get a tax break.
Okay, and then you also can write off unnecessary inventory.
Always been the case. Always been the case, but not a lot of people do it.
Really?
So it's December now. You've got a full month. Take a walk around your place, find out any inventory that looks like it's scrap, look at your receivables, and be honest with yourself and say, if you write it off, you take a deduction for it.
Then there's this startup expense deduction that what's that exactly? So if you're starting up a new company.
Correct. Again, this was part of the Small Business Reform Act that just passed a couple of months ago. So if you're starting up a new company, you can now write up to $10,000 of those startup expenses immediately off in the first year. You weren't allowed to do that before. And one other thing, if in the next month you're thinking of investing in a small business and tucking money away, you can do that in a small business, and you won't have to pay any taxes when you sell your investment, as long as you hold on to it for 5 years.
And the last thing at the bottom of the screen there is what's called an SEP, which I'm not familiar with, but tell us what it is.
Simplified Employer Pension Plan. It's something that you can set up for your company and for your employees. You can immediately deduct up to 25% of what you pay your employees or what you pay yourself. It's simple to set up. You can do it with your bank. You can do it with your accountant. It's a real good way to save taxes.
Gene, thank you very much for coming. I'm surprised people don't know many of these things already, but you say that a lot of people don't take advantage of them.
You know why? Because when you're running a business, there's a lot of things you have to keep track on, so you try to get your news where you can.
This is the year to know it, it looks like.
Thank
you, Gene. Good to see you. Gene Marks with us today. Now, a food